Hello and welcome back to the Let's Backflip Show. This is episode 6 for the video and 16 for the podcast because there's different numberings.
Whoa.
Just to make things confusing. Also, I don't think as of today, which is Halloween, actually, we're recording all these, I don't think any podcasts are up. So we have a lot of podcasts to go out. I think we actually do have, how many do we have? We have maybe 10 or 12 already on the books. So somebody's just got to edit those. See, I can do that. I can look at her and nobody knows that I'm calling her out on that because she's then called me back. She's like, I thought you were supposed to do that. So today we're talking with John. I'm Ryan, creative director. John's the other creative director, owner. We do a little bit of everything similar. But today we're talking about creative marketing cost and how to budget. And it's a very interesting topic. It's a very loaded topic, which is why I wanted to start early. And then I think we can do episodes later on that go into more specifics. But it's such a weird thing because people don't like to talk about budget. People are sometimes misinformed. It can be awkward. And we try to make it as unawkward or as natural as possible when we talk about it. But, it's money, right? So money's weird.
Yeah. I guess I'm ready to dive right into all the topics, but people don't like talking about money no matter where you are.
Do you want me to warm you up?
If you're
get you excited.
people don't like talking about money whether you're at the car dealership trying to negotiate, your new car, or whether you're trying to do construction on your house or whatever. The only place that we seem to just accept the price is like in stores, like retail. But anyway, those examples, or the reason I bring up all those is because those are things that I use to make analogies to talk about, how people should budget and where some of the problems with perceptions lie, I guess. The thing about this one is going to be, the difficulty will be not making this one like really complaining and negative about like if people just understand this. But I understand.
But the point is to help people understand, ways to think about it. So
I know that there's confusion and that people don't know. Right. They don't know. And so we're happy to explain it. And I guess the only times that, there's some difficulty is when somebody thinks that they know and they don't.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, and this discussion should help people think about it in kind of a more altruistic way, in a more complete, full way like we do, so that they can better approach any kind of project for creative marketing because, I think a lot of people are getting into marketing now thinking, you just do a couple things on some computers or you can do something on an iPhone, which is partially true, right? Technology is such that people can do things themselves and with their own tools at home can get part of the way there. But the most important part is that kind of strategizing and thinking about kind of the big campaign. And never having done anything, how do you think about those numbers? How do you wrap your mind around something like that?
So let's get into that topic then. So people have this perception that like, anyone can do it, or I know basically how to do it. Like marketing, you just kind of throw a couple things in. And a lot of my examples are going to be, I think, with video production, because I tend to do more of the work on that side. But some of these things do apply, or actually all these things apply to digital marketing as well as website design and development, website work.
Yeah.
So
one of the other departments you're not a part of.
Yeah.
Really.
One of the so many things I'm not a part of. I try to keep it that way. Okay. So let's just talk about, video production used to be this thing that was, the cameras were hundreds of thousands of dollars. All the equipment were, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was so expensive to do any video production that the video production world and commercial video production, let's say 20, 30 years ago, maybe 20 years ago is an appropriate number. Okay, I wasn't around, so this is, obviously before we were doing it.
To be clear, you were born.
I was born.
But you were not in production.
But I wasn't doing production. But I know from hearing from people who have been in business for a long time that, the numbers were a lot bigger. There was a barrier to entry in this industry, and if you wanted a commercial done, it cost a certain amount. It started somewhere, and then it went up from there. Then maybe this is 10 years ago now, when like DSLRs started coming out.
I think around 2008.
So they added, video features to cameras. And actually, I even had that Canon XH-A1 with the tape or whatever. And that camera, now they still cost something, but that camera was $3,500. Like, that's a far cry from the $100,000 Panasonic, whatever big news station type camera that, used to have to use. So what that did is it brought a lot of people who were younger, for sure. So a lot of people who were like recent grads from college trying to get in production. Brought some photographers, people who had just been doing photography, over to video. Basically, it brought a lot more people into the video production market. And they can, that's good because the demand for video is going up, but it was skewing things in terms of people's perception of budget, because when I've got, some guy, we'll call him Luke, Luke's our intern, who, maybe just graduated from college, and he's got a DSLR that he bought on eBay for $1,200. You could get one used for even less than $1,000 or something, that does a pretty good job of getting some, video that's better than like what people were doing with their phones or their flip cameras at the time.
It has the look.
And that person isn't running a business and doesn't really know how to price themselves, and so they just say, "Oh, I don't know, I could come out and do this for a couple $100." But if you broke that down, I don't have an order of operations in my discussion here, but I'll just make a drastic tangent right now to a woman I know named Laura Borgenhagen, is a photographer, and she wrote a really great blog article. Maybe we'll find it, maybe we'll post it or something. I don't know how this works.
Maybe it'll be on this video right here.
But she described how do you price, and she was talking about photography. How do you price yourself in photography? And she was pointing out really great resource for people who are working in the industry. You don't just price, like for a wedding, for example, you don't just price, okay, well, I'm going to be there for 8 hours, and so it's this much. Or let's say I want to make $20 an hour, you don't just price that, because you're going to spend all this time beforehand prepping. You're going to spend this time on the day. You've got your equipment. There's a cost to that. Then after the fact, you're going to be editing that stuff for a number of hours. You're going to be using computers. So there's a great resource there. Anyway, that's a tangent, and I'm realizing I should probably come back toward the client-focused side. I'm out of podcast world.
If you just keep going, and I'll guide you back. Let's go back to kind of talking about technology and the lower cost of technology. And then, one of those things as well, like you had that XH-A1, that was, one of those cameras that gave us a great quality for cost. And then above that, you had $8,000 cameras, and then the really expensive cameras still. So even that, the XH-A1 was a low cost, kind of more prosumer video camera at the time. And
I guess I should clarify that it's not just because the cameras are low cost that the production should be low cost. So we could come on a production and decide to use a DSLR for whatever reason. Maybe it works better in the environment we're shooting in, or maybe it has a look that we're going for. Just because that camera is a little lower cost, it doesn't mean that the production has to be $0 or super low budget. The reason that those two things are connected is because it opened up the market to a lot of people who hadn't been in it before, and they didn't understand how to price themselves. And maybe you can benefit from that. Maybe, you get a chance to benefit from a recent grad or some, student. But the problem is you're not getting the years of professional experience.
And reliability.
You're not getting, what if you want to come back to them and, I want to re-edit that from last year. Are they even still in business?
Right.
They may not be, because they're like, I can't support myself on this budget. So either their budgets go up or they go out of business. We've had all of our stuff on an archive for like 10 years. We haven't deleted anything.
Right.
We can go back because we have a business that is structured to be professional and stable and all those things.
Right. Well, and that's an interesting thing too, and a conversation that I've often had with people when we talk about budget. And it's one of those things that you can pick three: fast, cheap, and good. Or pick two. Excuse me. That's three.
I'll have all those.
I'll have
three.
all of them. Pick two. You can do fast, cheap, and good. One of the things when I talk to somebody who's never done it before, or maybe has a misconception about budgeting and price, we'll throw out our range. Kind of what we say is an average cost can be $7,000 to $50,000, and that sounds a little weird, right? Because average, but really, we can produce a video of a certain length at $7,000 or $50,000, depending on scope, where it's going, the quality that it has to be in terms of camera and equipment and crew that we bring on and all that. So, thinking all that. But when somebody comes back and says, I have $500, I recommend, I'm like, hey, look for some college person who has a cool reel. You can get something real quick from them for that cost. Like, that's great. You're probably not going to be able to come back to them. You're not going to go, edit in their studio. They're not going to have, marketing resources and digital resources like we have, but they could create, one kind of really unique thing for you. But then next time, when you're ready to do more, like, come to an established company and we can help.
I've even told people, we don't do a lot of weddings, but I've even told people when they've called us, looking for wedding videographers, and they'll say, I've got like $500 or, something like that. My recommendation is, I'm like, go to Best Buy, buy yourself a camera.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Have your uncle set it up on a tripod and hit record, and then take your brand new camera with you on your honeymoon and take lots of pictures and video.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm like, there's a certain level.
Is it good to spend that money on somebody or invest it other ways?
There's a certain level where it's like, what you get for that may not be, it may not be what you want it to be, or may not be what you
because they want the $2,000, the $4,000, the $5,000 video. And for those who haven't ever seen those budgets before, like, oh my gosh, we budgeted $500, and it's unfortunate because they didn't think about it, because they might have been able to afford it had they thought about it beforehand.
So people ask us this, just a simple question, like, what does a video cost? Like, what is, and then they'll give us ideas. That. Okay, well,
that's a good one.
It's just 2-minute video. 2-minute promo video. What does that cost?
It's just a simple promo.
A range on that. We kind of have numbers that we can use, but like you said, it's like, is the range 7 to 50,000 helpful for anyone? I don't really know. And the reason I brought up other industries before is because I think it's very useful to use like building as a good analogy. Is like, what does a house cost? It's somewhere between, let's go real low, it's somewhere between 75,000 and several million, depending on the market that you're in. Right.
And let's just pick our area.
Like all the specs that you want in it and everything. We haven't even talked about any of these details. Right. And so that's where a lot of people start. Well, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm just trying to get an idea. And I can empathize with that. I understand, like, you're trying to go to your like marketing director and say, okay, well, I did some research and I found out a video is going to cost us this much. But it's a very difficult answer, because we're creating something custom for you. And there's a lot of different ways we can do it, because it's all creative, and we can say, well, what if we do it this way? It comes down to how many days are people out in the field filming, because crew in this industry have day rates. And then in post-production, most things go to hourly rates. But then it's, again, well, how long is it going to take me to edit this? And it's hourly. And that's not an easy answer either, because, well, how long will it take to edit 2 minutes? It depends on what we're talking about. This video here is going to be way more than 2 minutes. It's going to take us way less time to edit, because we're standing in the same spot, all the lighting's set up, and we're just going to edit between these cameras. Right. But if I've got different shots and I've got B-roll and
like a 30-second commercial, for instance, you know, we have 8 to 16 hours for editing with, on that. And this, will take maybe 2 hours, depending on how long it is, like you're saying. And that's a really good point. Like, what is the standard cost of a 2-minute video? I don't know. Like, what is the standard cost of a 150 square foot house? Like you said, I don't know, 75,000 over here looks like a shack, 3 million over here. And even in 3 million could look different. 3 million has a great location, or 3 million has 7,000 square feet.
Yeah. So it's hard, because I feel that pull or that strain between people who are just trying to get some information, but also like it feels like a non-answer when I say, well, we kind of need to talk and I need more information. And I'm not trying to like give a non-answer, but I think people sometimes feel like, oh, they're just or they want the price just listed somewhere. And it's not that kind of it's not like going into a retail store, going to Walmart, walk back to the TV section and choose the one that you want. The other example that I use with like my Walmart example is if you go to Walmart and say, okay, I want a TV, and then they say, all right, well, what's your budget? And you're like, well, I don't have much. I have very low budget. And so then they say, all right, well, our cheapest one is, let's say, $500. Well, I want a 40-inch flat screen, and I have $100 to spend. The answer at the retail store is there isn't one. There's nothing down there. But in the service industry, and this is websites, this is marketing, digital marketing, social stuff, video production, I think to people, it feels like, oh, it's flexible. It feels like a negotiation, which it is, but it's still based on real things. And below a certain level, that's my wedding example of just go buy the cameras, that there's nothing below that. Below that, you just get into, well, you can spend some money on some stuff. I don't really know what you get. And when you look at the scope of things like that, if you can break it out, have somebody who's doing something low cost for you break out the cost so you can see, oh wow, this person is making $8 an hour, which again, if they have a great reel or something and they're just out of college and in between and can do something for you once, that could be really great. But is that going to be sustainable? No. Is $8 a reasonable cost to pay an artist who's working on your marketing? I mean, absolutely not. I mean, think about the costs of the other things in your business and how much you spend to make sure it's done well, high quality, and on time. And you'll quickly realize, oh, that $8 an hour, that's not going to work very hard for me. Well, and people will. Sometimes they'll come to us and they worked with somebody else in the past, and then they'll say, well, we had this thing, but we were trying to get edits done and we couldn't get a hold of the person. It's like, well, that guy's probably busy working on other things, and he doesn't have an office with other people to answer his questions. And so, yes, are you paying for a bigger business? Like, yeah, you are, but you have to figure out what you want. And again, it comes to that fast, good, cheap. Part of good, part of quality is what kind of like customer service do you need? Yeah, reliability. When do you want to be able to call? Like, I try not to do it. I try to have good family life, but like I answer my phone a lot. Do you want to be able to call and get a hold of somebody? If you call me, like I'm invested in the projects that we're doing. But if you call somebody who was like a freelancer who was just kind of getting started, I don't know if you're going to,
right.
get caught.
No,
I guess there's some great guys out there. But
there's lots of great people out there, and freelance can also be different than somebody who's doing it on the side, and that's what you want to be careful with as well. Somebody who's doing it on the side, because again, they could have high quality work, but they're not going to be reliable or be able to get to you in the schedule that you need. And that's one thing that we like to provide, and that's why we have the rates that we do, which we'll get into more specifics in more detailed posts in video, creative marketing, digital, and web. And how we kind of do that. But part of it is that reliability. Like if you contact us, you should hear back within a few hours. And the case that doesn't happen is, it's vacation or the weekend, or we're on a shoot and, the other office, the people aren't in. But everyone is always, kind of aware of communications. So, we have that reliability.
I think in this industry as well, again, video production specifically, but I guess this happens in website projects and in digital marketing as well. The reason the building analogy works so well is that the way that the projects unfold is very similar. And I think when people are doing a production project, they need to understand that like there can be things that come up. You think about your building project. I'm just having you, remodel my living room, and it's this cost. Okay, great. Yeah, let's just, keep it at that. And let's say I've even negotiated myself down to something pretty tight. That's what we all do. I got my remodeling project. I don't want it to get out of hand. We open up a wall and there's a huge problem.
Right.
And
you have to fix it to code.
Sewer line runs through that wall or something.
And there's poop coming out the side.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
It's just in the cavity.
Gotta fix it. Gotta fix that poop hole.
So
that got weird fast. The pipe. You gotta fix the pipe.
But you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And is it the construction company's fault that
or
they
responsibility
didn't do, responsibility, like
in this case,
it's just something that has to be dealt with,
right?
Something that came up. And video production and marketing and website projects and things like can happen like that. You're working on something and oh shoot, this plugin we were going to use for our pay portal just went away. They stopped supporting it entirely, and now we have to go to this other one, and it's 2 times more expensive. I don't have anything to do other than tell you this and try to help figure that out. You got to realize you're doing a building project. You're creating something, and so I mean our job obviously is to be responsible with our clients' budgets, and we do that. I mean I can't even think of the last time that something real big, well, now I can think of it because now I'm thinking about it, but okay, let me go back to that.
Yeah.
So
cut that.
It's our responsibility to take care of our clients' budgets, and the vast majority of times that we're working on something, nothing does come up. Or if it does, we're able to sort of like shift things around and help them figure out, well, maybe if we approach the problem from this way, we can like keep that cost to a minimum or keep it within the original estimate. It's just, I think there's not a lot of specifics here. I feel like I'm talking in a lot of abstract terms, but like this is the most important thing about budgeting in this industry is realizing that we're building something. We're doing a building project. And everybody because construction's been around for a lot longer. I think we just know what it's like.
Well, and the cost-wise, so building is so like important comparison because there's so many elements that go into it. Price-wise, I also like the car analogy because you can literally think about you can get a $500 car. You can get a $500 car that you can drive around in, right? Drastically different than a $5,000 car, drastically different than a brand new $30,000 car, drastically different than a 60 and 100. Like production can follow the same way as well. You get an old Honda for $8,000 and that's fantastic. That is a specific scope, specifically designed project or video for $8,000. You're buying it new, it's 15 or 20 or a little bit more. Then you look at something bigger that can transport more people, right? A van. So, average used price on something with 75,000 miles, maybe $15,000. New price is $30,000. So do you need something that's new, that is going to last you a longer time?
Last you a long time. That's what you're.
Last you a long time? Yeah, I hesitated on that. I don't know why I was going there. I love you long time. That's why. Something that'll last you a long time, or something that's cheap, right? Because cheap could be your modus operandi, and if that's the case, that informs the way you do things. And
then let's get into that topic a little bit, because the analogies do break down. They're not 100% good, because
as all analogies do.
The van that lasts you for a long time, there are people that want video, like, okay, we're going to do this video and we want it to have shelf life. We want it to be, hopefully we can use this for 5 to 10 years or something. I mean, we hear all kinds of things. And that's another area where it's difficult for people to swallow the price and understand that, like, this is something that is a piece of your marketing.
And it's timely.
Yeah. It's not just a product that you get, that you set in the lobby. It's something that is going to, like, hit a target audience, and it's going to be useful for a period of time. And then after that, you need to hit them with another thing. You need to run a marketing plan. You need to keep things going. So there's some struggle there too, because I think when people have tight budgets, sometimes they're trying to pull all of that into one project. And what might be more useful for certain clients when they're not ready is, don't throw all of your money into one video. And if you don't have enough budget to break that into a few different projects and run some sort of marketing campaign, then maybe just wait. Just don't do that. I mean, I hesitate to tell people not to, like, do their video productions, but it might be wiser to wait and try to do other things. We can also, like, do great photography. We can also do, like, social media posts and cool little, like,
or podcasts like this, or vlogs, So start somewhere else if you're not ready for the
if you're not ready for the $50,000 commercial, like, then that takes a while to be a company that's at that level too. So
well, and it also kind of gets into why we offer these other services and why we pivoted. So 10 years ago we started as a video production company. 4 years ago we added web and graphics and print, and then a year ago we started this transition more into digital marketing, social marketing, and other kind of more expansive touches. And it's exactly what you're saying, that we've found too that people are more successful when they're able to kind of think of it as a campaign and have multiple touches over the year, because we found that if you just one and done it, that's not satisfying anymore, because we consume billions of hours of content every day, and so that's the arena that we have to be in, billions of content a day, and we have to stand out. So one video every 5 years or one video every 5 years is not going to be satisfactory, and so maybe that $100,000 budget that we thought we were just going to spend on one video for 5 years, maybe we break that up for 2 years and we can do 20 videos, 20 different styles, and one's a commercial and one's a podcast and one's this other thing, and it hits these different points and can last longer.
Some of it comes down to companies that just don't have their marketing plan in place and don't have that all whipped into shape. I mean,
which is okay, and it's most of us. I mean, like, we just whipped our marketing plan into shape.
There's there are recommendations that you can read about how much should I spend on my marketing, and I had heard a long time ago, it's like, 2 to 3%, Well, then I was reading something recently that said like 7 to 8%, and then it was like, if you're just getting started for a short period of time, you might need to spend 10 to 20%. But let's just say you get into your, a nice, comfortable 7 to 8%. Those aren't round numbers. That on camera, I'm not going to be able to do that math. But yes, I can.
If you have $1 million business, it's $70,000.
Yeah. Or if you have a $100,000 business, which, is a small business. A lot of people have small businesses, maybe around there.
Or you're freelance, or you're, small shop.
So you got your $100,000 business, and you're going to spend $8,000, 8% on marketing this year. Well, that's the cost, or around the cost, like the lower end of some of the promo videos that we do. So you really have to think about that. And people,
your entire budget on one thing.
I don't want people to feel, sometimes I feel like people feel offended at the price that, I give them. And it's like, I'm not trying to alienate you from doing this production, but if you have a $100,000 business, you should be spending, 7 to 8% on your marketing. You're not going to do an $8,000 video. I would love to do a video with you, but it just doesn't make sense for you. You need to split that up. What are you going to do each quarter of this year?
Right.
You're going to spend $2,000 per quarter. You're probably, some of that is marketing is a big umbrella. So some of that's website stuff, you're hosting, whatever. Some of that might be, direct mail if you're in that kind of industry. Like, there's other things you have to spend it on.
Well, and even the strategy takes time, whether that's internal or external, call it a week or two of your time. That costs. And, at that level, you probably want to do some of that strategizing yourself to start. But, a company like ours can help at that next stage where you're like, hey, I think I have an idea. What should I actually do? And we can walk in with that experience of, all right, and I just had this conversation yesterday. Here's the statistics on regular blog posts. You're going to see a 400% increase in your traffic and your digital interaction with 12 blog posts a month versus 8 blog posts a month. If you have nothing, you'll see 100% growth up to 1, and then the next break is like at 4 and then 8. And it's kind of a curve where you get started and you're up, and then it kind of flattens out, and then it kind of bumps up again up to that number. And that's like 12 is really tough. Like we've found 3 a week is really tough, but we split it up. So there's, 2, you write 2 blog posts, I write 2, you write 2, and
probably have blog posts I'm supposed to be writing right now.
This blog post, which is due on Monday, but good news, we're talking about it. So those things as well. So you think about that $8,000, what do we spend? Well, let's spend 10% of that on the campaign. What are we going to do for it? Let's spend another 30% on actual video, and it can be podcasting, it can be Snapchat, it could be Instagram, it could be other things. Those things then, lower the cost because we have less equipment, less locations, less crew, literally like one person comes to the office and does a little Instagram video. And we can do it well because, we have all the other training. So then you can have, Instagram videos for every month. We can train you on how to do your own Instagram story or whatever it is, So training can be a part of that as well. Social posting and management is all of that. And then maybe digital, putting some money behind ads. At this point, you can spend, $10 or $20 and get, 1,000 to 2,000% more reach. You can go from a few hundred or 1,000 to 10,000, 20,000 in reach, which that may actually be, one of the places where you could spend a smaller amount of money and see the greatest amount of turn initially. And then once your business grows, then great video is awesome. The premium website is awesome. Premium other marketing assets. Yeah. But starting small and on the ground is where you want to be.
And in the building analogy, it's probably more or a lot of it is like remodeling because it's like you already have a business. So we're not creating something from the ground up. And it would be like, looking at, your living room remodel project for however, much when there are other big issues with the house.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's a really
probably
good
need
point.
to fix this other stuff first.
And that's hard to talk about.
Yeah. And all that's a good point because a lot of times when we have these conversations, there's a request that comes in, how much to make a website, how much to shoot a video. And they haven't invited us, you guys
to be a partner.
Haven't invited us into a conversation that we really should be having, right? Which is, are we ready to do this? Are you ready to do this? So the right things in place for this to be successful. That's like a video. We can make a great video, but if it's not like put out in the world in the right way, and
if it's not marketed and advertised correctly,
then
it's a very expensive brick to that house.
Yeah, and it it'll get some views, but it's not going to do the work that you want it to do without that plan in place. So again, this is the summary of the complicated conversation about just tell me what it costs. Just tell me what the video costs.
I want one more analogy because we just came to that. It's like, like a brick facade is very nice, but imagine, you didn't talk to the builder and you just said it's going to be over here and this and that. And the builder didn't say, wait a minute, what about this? And they just went with that. And then they put that, fancy brick facade on the side of your house next to the trees because that's what you asked for. But nobody asked, or you didn't talk about, well, don't we want it facing the street? Don't we want it in front where people can see it, where we can get value out of it? And that's expensive video, or, any kind of expensive asset. You want to be able to have that conversation. That's why last week's vlogcast was great, talking about partnership versus client vendor, where we want to enter into a partnership where we can have that frank conversation of, hey, we're going to put this on the website and that's going to be your main place where this plays. We maybe want to take a look at how we can make that work harder, how we can make that look better, how that can be sent out to more people, how we can get more traffic to that website so that this $60,000 video, doesn't just become that, expensive facade on the side of your house.
Don't build your houses with expensive facades.
And if you do, buy a cheap car that'll last for 5 years from a college kid.
Yeah, because who
has a DSLR.
You already got the TV.
Yeah.
Set.
For $100. You're a wheeler and dealer.
All wrapped up. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I wonder if we would get slammed on YouTube for that, for copyright. They like to do things like that.
You can't just copyright a 3-word phrase.
Oh, man.
I've been looking into this.
Oh, man.
Recently.
Oh, that's right.
Really,
We're trying to do some...
It's very difficult.
Some poetic...
Yeah, you want to use
stuff.
music in your commercial. Let's talk about budget some more. Anyway,
just time. How much time has been spent. Cool. So I think that's a good stopping point for this discussion because we could get into very specifics on each of these, which we will, and in later episodes. I don't know if they're scheduled yet, but keep a subscription to our blog or our podcast, and you'll hear more about it. So next week on the vlogcast, we're talking with me. Why content is king. This is fun. It's about creative marketing, and why creating unique things is important. Shakespeare, I believe, said there's only 7 stories, and we just tell them in different ways. And that's essentially what we're trying to do with marketing. We're trying to tell your story in a new way. It's the same story that's been told over and over and over, but people love to see things in new ways. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the week after that, it's actually this one. I'll find out what this one is. Something about how movies have changed entertainment forever. Could be 5 movies, could be 3. I don't know. Jeff's going to figure that out. So tune in next week. That's all we got. Thank you, John. Did a great job.
Thank you.
It's like you're pro at this.
That's what I try to do.
Like you're getting paid right now to do this.
Currently.
It's part of what people pay us for in other projects is so that we can do stuff like this.
Currently shirking my duties right now.
Speaking of budget, I got to go make one.